shit. Here we go again.
Yes, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
地球の心と物質
Yo, our intro music is fucking good, man. Every time I hear that shit, we really created that.
Immediately, let's just circle jerk each other
Okay,
right now.
right now.
Right off the bat, this is the show, guys.
Yeah.
We're just gonna talk about how fucking great we are as producers of music.
Always.
Like for people who don't know, when we made the intro to that, we were sitting hunched over at my desk over my iPad on GarageBand because we're professionals.
Always. Yeah.
And we're just sitting there like fucking Dr. Dre and Eminem.
100%.
And like, you know, I'm Dr. Dre because I'm black. And fucking Frankie's Eminem because he's white.
Crazy.
And
because I'm crazy. And Eminem kind of crazy.
But we were really just sitting there after we made it. And we were like, damn, we made some good shit.
Yeah,
we made
man.
some good shit.
And then we called it, was it Worst Comes to Worst? We send it to Jay-Z. That's the name of the title of the song. Worst Comes to Worst.
By Jay-Z.
Yeah, by Jay-Z.
Because, you know, we
him.
produced it with Jay-Z, for those who don't know. Jay-Z being Link, because Link is black. Anyways, welcome.
I did see a video of Jay-Z and Beyonce getting out of a car to eat dinner. Man, paparazzi is crazy.
Paparazzi.
To experience, I'm the scat man.
I'm a scat man.
I remember I sent you that video. That fucking shit is crazy. But just a bunch of cameras in your face, all flashing you and this and that. And Jay-Z doesn't even acknowledge them because he doesn't have to because he's Jay-Z. It's crazy. And that's it. That's it.
I mean, I think in general, like being up on stage and like being out in public is like, you don't want cameras in your you don't want cameras in your face when you're out in public.
Yeah.
Like when you're on stage, like that's your job and whatever. But it's like when you're out in public, you just kind of want to be left alone.
Yeah, but there's no way you can be left alone. Oh my god.
Yo, man, what the fuck is up with you, man? Fumbling your dick around over the mic like that? I get your packing, but come on, dude.
There's a movie where a very famous, I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but a very, very famous rapper sitting at a table and a very famous comedian is staring at him, right? But the comedian is super famous, but that doesn't mean shit to like a musician or anything. You know what I mean? So the musician is like, "What the fuck are you staring at? Like, what? You want to fuck me right now? I will bend over and let you fuck me right now, right?" And he's like, and then he's telling the other comedian, he's like, "I can't go to Walmart, I can't go to Kmart, I can't go to any of them." That's just funny as hell.
I was just telling you that I saw the Saturday Night Live movie yesterday.
Yeah,
and
which I had no idea existed.
Yeah, so those who don't know, there's a movie about Saturday Night Live called Saturday Night.
The three people that care.
Because like I didn't know this before, but like before they called that Saturday Night Live, it was just called Saturday Night, and so that's why the movie's called Saturday Night.
Yeah,
and it's really clever that they released it the day that the first episode came out, 50 years later, October 11th, and overall it was just really solid. Like, because I wanted to say more on the show when we were talking about it, but it's just the thing that I really enjoyed about it is that it wasn't borderline being cliche at certain points, but it executed it well enough that like by the end of the movie where they're finally getting the ball rolling and the show is starting and you're like, damn, they actually did that shit.
It's been on for how long? 90
50
years?
years.
50 years? Oops.
Yeah, and you know, you were there. You were in the
course.
double digits. But it was really interesting to see, like, I get it's a dramatization, but it still felt very grounded. And like, I could imagine that a lot of that stuff actually did happen in those 90 minutes before the 90 minutes. Yeah. And it's really fast paced. Like, I think a lot about the scene in Whiplash when he's running to get his drumsticks from the car and make it to the show on time. Like, imagine that whole sequence when he gets hit by the truck and everything.
Like
if you remember
happening
that
in one motion, right?
Yeah, like imagine that, but it's the whole movie for like 90 minutes, just like nonstop moving.
Because you gotta get the show
moving.
on, right?
And it has a great opening quote, like which is just
the opening quote. I'm the scat man.
It had a great quote that I had seen before, but it was something like, the show doesn't go on because it's ready. The show goes on because it's 11:30.
Yeah.
And
that's showbiz.
That's show business, baby.
I don't know if it's 8 Billion Genies or something else that I saw, but it was like 2 rules of show business. Be there, and it's something other shit. It's something about being on time and everything too. But that's the whole point, you know. You have to. Oh, he's like, show up. Like, that's the one thing. Show up. and then like call time is call time and this and that. There's a documentary. I never seen it, but it's about the Comedy Store in L.A. And it's also a lot of that. And a lot of famous comedians are in there because that's where a lot of people got their start and stuff like that. I've been there once and that was cool.
Hell yeah.
But it has a whole history. It's a documentary and stuff. So we'll do what you will with that information.
I think the only way we could segue this into a proper intro is just by fucking saying, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Shit. Here we go again.
And we are in the A.M.C section, so we're not just gonna be rambling, even though it's pretty fun to ramble. It's pretty fun to just
we like to just ramble on.
Rambling
on.
Scat man. That shit is so fucking crazy.
Now, I'll hit you with this fun fact real quick because I just remembered about it the other day. Led Zeppelin, they named themselves Led Zeppelin.
That big thing, the big thing, the Zeppelin.
Well, yeah, but they use that as their album cover because it's literally a Led Zeppelin because they all came from different bands that failed and didn't ever like take off. So when they made Led Zeppelin, they called themselves that because they were like, hey, we're never going to take off. We're a Led Zeppelin.
Oh, shit. Well, that's a fire-ass name, bro.
Yeah,
Jesus
and here
Christ.
they are today.
This video
getting
that
sued for everything.
there's an actual video. They stole a lot of music, right? Yeah, Led Zeppelin stole a lot of music. Bill Burr talked about that at one point, and he was mad at this point, disappointed. He was like, "These motherfuckers." What's it called? This video of the Zeppelin going down. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's like
actually, I think I think I might have seen a clip.
It's crazy because it's so flammable. So
it just kind of like spreads across.
Can you imagine all that thing? You're like, because people were in it, right? That sucks, man. That just fucking sucks. I was thinking about like being in a situation like that where you're just dying in a tragic, event like that. It fucking sucks, bro.
Yeah, man.
Because people are like, you heard about Frankie, bro? Motherfucker just, building burned down. He was in it. Anyway, you want to get pizza? And then people do this thing when people die. You just sit for a moment and you kind of shake your heads. And then you're just like, all right, anyway. I'll take the platanos. I'll take the chimichanga.
And, sometimes if that were to ever happen, just know, Frankie, I would wish for you to be back.
Oh, thanks.
I would wish for you to be back.
I'm getting by maggots. Oh, these hobbies actually.
Like if the conversation came up and they'd be like, damn, like Frankie actually, he deaded.
Yeah.
I'd be like.
Dying is actually crazy though.
I'm going to be like, you know what? Genie.
To die is wild.
But as you said, we are on the AMC section,
yes,
as we do, where we cycle through our news and AMC episodes. AMC standing for albums, movies, and comics.
Yes.
As we do every other time that we come back to do this show on Earth, Mind, and Matter, where we talk about what's going on in the Earth.
In our minds.
And this is why it matters.
This is Earth, Mind, and Matter. I'm Frankie.
I'm Javi.
And we're back to the show. And today on the AMC section, we're on the comics. And yeah, so take it, Javi.
Yeah. We are talking about Charles Soule's and fucking Ryan Browne's comic, 8 Billion Genies.
Hell yeah.
Came out about a couple of years ago now. And in the time that it's been out, they've released this beautiful hardcover collection of it, which in preparation that they are now turning it into a film franchise.
Get the fuck
Amazon.
out of here. Amazon's picking up on the comics and everything.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh,
Are they doing well with it? Because Invincible you saw and everything.
Invincible's great. The Boys is great.
Boys was great, yeah. I didn't watch the whole thing, but
they
I watched
did
most of it.
Paper Girls, which is another indie
I remember
comic.
we were reading that shit and everything.
Yeah,
Okay,
and they did Paper Girls, which got mixed reviews. I thought it was fine. Like
That's the one they canceled?
Yeah, it got canceled after
Okay.
one season,
That's
which
sad.
is unfortunate. But yeah, they've been picking up a lot of comic book properties, and like they do Lord of the Rings too. They do Fallout.
How do you feel about what's it called, like comics being turned into shows? If like of course it's happened plenty of times and this and that, but it's like when they make video games into shows and this and that, everything's a fucking show now. How you feel about that when a company doesn't handle it correctly? And do you think like Amazon will eventually get like it's going with this momentum right now to like keep doing it, but do you think it'll lose its like momentum, or do you think it'll continue, or it's all up to the people handling it?
Well, it like
because Netflix has done a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, if you even mention Netflix, that's like comparing Netflix and Amazon. Like Netflix has such a higher oversaturation of content than Amazon does.
Oh yeah.
Like in terms of original content. And like that was Netflix's plan from day one. They wanted it to be primarily Netflix content that you see on Netflix.
Yeah.
But Amazon, like, I feel like they have a good balance of just having things that you can just
watch anywhere
else, and like having the original content as well.
Yeah.
And they've made some great movies too. Like, have you ever seen Manchester by the Sea with Casey Affleck? No, that shit's sad.
Because there's a lot of Apple shows. Not really, but the one Apple show I know people love is Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
People
there's
love
Ted
that
Lasso.
show.
The Morning Show is also really good on Apple TV.
That's with what's her name, Jennifer Aniston. That's
and
good.
Steve Carell. Yeah, it's actually good.
get
It's
the
actually
fuck outta
good.
here. Wow.
And they did a Godzilla show recently that people actually really fucking like. That just got picked up for a second season.
People will watch anything. I'm gonna just do a
Says
show.
you fucking watching a dude drinking and smoking for 40 minutes.
Yo, I watched a video. It's literally called "Drinking and Smoking in Public," and it's like 47 minutes long. One of the best videos I've seen all year, hands down.
People will watch anything.
1.8
Godzilla again.
1.8 million views. Didn't get canceled. He's still doing the videos. I'm just saying, check that shit out. We'll link in the description.
But is he on Apple TV? I don't think so.
But I don't know what's it called. But I feel like having original content on a platform like Apple and Amazon seems like contradictory, even though it's not, right? It's just a platform to have it on. But I feel with streaming services and everything like that, it kind of sucks. Like it's nice when I don't know. I don't know if I'm referring to like indie stuff and everything, like independently published things, but there's a little more flair to that. And I think,
are you like speaking more in terms of like creative freedom and things like that?
Nah, because I think that's what a lot of these platforms figured out. Like people want to have creative freedom, you know. And it's like, what's that? I don't. We weren't talking about it before, but you know when they used to have public broadcast television and you can just put anything on TV, like. When that was going on, everybody was like, "Oh, this is just bullshit TV," you know. But the smart people on Adult Swim and all these motherfuckers like picked up on that, and they really put out a lot of great, content with like really like grade A, like at least comedians or like funny people that like it was just kind of like pushed down, you know. And now you look at it back then, you're like, this is genius, you know, because they took advantage of a source that wasn't so like huge and like beloved, you know. It was kind of like just shit in the mud, you know.
It was a little niche at the time,
Exactly.
and they made the niche mainstream.
So
almost.
now like that is, where does that exist? Because even if you're on YouTube, you're still like oversaturated. Like this, unless you're like on, was it not, what's that other thing instead of YouTube? Not Bumble, that's a dating site. It's like some other shit, you know.
Vimeo, I don't know.
Something, exactly, whatever, you know. Even like cameos are crazy weird to me, you know. Like they're cute.
Hi, George Santos here.
Yeah, it's so strange to me. So like nothing else. Where do you release independent stuff? You know, like the only thing I could think of is like
you just literally have to release it yourself at this point.
Yeah, but where? I think
on YouTube. That's like the most like accessible thing that you can do.
Yeah, but even then, everything is so weird. Where even us, like how we're published, like we have to like accommodate the way you put out things so people can watch it or catch attention because attention span is so low. Like what happened to just like get a bunch of chairs, get a fucking projector, and put your shit out, and invite people to watch.
It's just, I mean, it's like you say, it's an oversaturation, and it's like you need to do a lot more nowadays to really stand out.
Yeah,
and which is unfortunate because it's like,
but even standing out isn't. You know what I mean? Because when you are standing out, you're like, oh, look at this loser over here, like trying to be different. You know what I mean?
It's a tricky balance,
Yeah.
and it's like it's just kind of like the way that the internet has set up entertainment and content now.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because even with Saturday Night in the movie, they kind of talk about that where how like the big switch from like radio to television and stuff. And one of the original writers of Saturday Night would talk about that television nowadays is just better radio with just better lighting.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people just didn't get that. They were like, is TV really gonna like take off like that? And they were really pushing that like, no, with this we can like do something. And a lot of people were like skeptical about it, and they were like, this is like, what the fuck is this even show about? And it's just it's like you say, back then there was less room for it, so the people who took advantage of that really did a good job of taking advantage of that. And that's why even when it comes to stuff like Amazon, I think it's super interesting where Seth Rogen works super closely with Amazon on a lot of the comic projects. Like he's a producer on The Boys, a producer on Invincible, and he's going to be producing the franchise for 8 Billion Genies on Amazon. And
you know, funny enough, like to backtrack to comedians, what made this stand out to me is the quote on the back. I think it's Patton Oswalt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like that to me is the craziest thing, because when I saw that, what did he say? He said 8 Billion Genies is what?
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah. So like that stood out to me because like comics are a big part of a lot of people's lives, but older people, like, Pat Allen was like 100 years old.
He actually has started
Yeah.
writing comics.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Because he's a good writer, and I've seen his comedy specials and he's been around forever. I think he's funny. I think he's like,
Right.
But,
He's
but-
almost like a household name.
but he's a fucking legend. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like most people know who Patton Oswalt
Yeah.
is.
Well, who did he voice in some? He did Ratatouille. He was Remy. Yeah, what's it called? But yeah, that stood out to me the most, right? But to like really backtrack on the comic itself, this shit is $40, worth every fucking penny. You know what I mean? Like it's I remember we'll go more in depth, but I remember when I was doing laundry and I texted you because I had just began to read it. And it immediately hooks you, and it's fast paced, but not like overwhelming. Even though the story itself is very bulky, like when you really think about the whole concept of it, which we'll get more in depth in a second, it's fucking incredible. Like just to start it off, and I really enjoyed this shit. And I finished it last night, but I took my time to admire everything, and I was gonna do a lot of notes and this and that, but I picked up on the story so well. I mean, I can just refer to it on its own. And yeah, so that's how I started off that. 'Cause
Nice.
It's fucking incredible. And I don't know who these guys are, Charles Soule and Ryan Browne. I'm sure you do.
Charles Soule I'm very familiar with. Ryan Browne, this is my first introduction to his work.
Okay.
I know that Charles Soule and Ryan Browne did another indie comic back in the day that I think is still going on. I could be wrong about that. But they did a series called Curse Words back like maybe less than 10 years ago, something like that. But it was kind of underground. Not too many people read it. But Charles Soule is a very big name in the comic space. He's also a novelist.
Okay.
And his little journey to comics is interesting because he was a lawyer for a long time.
That makes sense with this though.
Right?
It makes very much sense.
He was a lawyer for a
Okay.
long time until he started writing and then started writing novels. And then from novels, he started writing comics.
Nice.
And he's a huge Star Wars fan. So he writes many Star Wars comics and Star Wars novels.
That's dope.
So I'm very familiar with his Star Wars work for sure.
You're talking about Charles Soule, right?
Charles Soule as a writer.
Okay.
And he's worked with many, many amazing artists on these Star Wars projects. And he's also written Daredevil for a while.
Wow.
I don't think he's contracted with Marvel, if I remember correctly. So he hasn't done anything with DC. But he also does a big indie comic called Undiscovered Country alongside Scott Snyder, who did Batman. They co-write that series together.
Wow.
And we'll definitely get to Undiscovered Country one day because that comic is fucking nutty.
Nice.
But Charles Soule is a great writer. He is very intricate and like he knows how to properly use like the space in terms of dialogue. Because if you look at his Star Wars comics, there's not much dialogue in those comics.
Yeah.
But then in this book, there's
Shitload of it.
there's a lot of
It has
dialogue.
to have dialogue. Yeah.
So
Like a lot of it.
yeah, so he knows how to balance like when to like lean back or like put more dialogue without. And I feel what's so good about this book is that it feels very accessible.
Yeah.
Like you don't necessarily need to read comics or like understand like the format of comics because it does it in a very simplistic like panel composition format of like, you go from here, you go from here, you go from here.
Yeah. It kind of guides you through it, and like without even being disrespectful to it, obviously not.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't
like,
spoon feed you.
Exactly. But it's still very simplistic for a story that's so crazy and just
At the end of the day, it's very intricate.
yeah, it is, because it doesn't like, it's not your average story where it follows one group of people and it sticks with them. Like it really surpasses it, and then you're like by the halfway point you're like, okay,
like, where's this gonna go?
Yeah, and you're like holy shit, and not to skip ahead, and I won't mention anything at the end right now. I'll spoil it. I guess we don't spoil it much. I don't know how we still navigate it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely talk about certain
But
things.
we
but,
won't
like,
spoil it for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say, not to set standards, but the ending, that's the first time I like genuinely teared at the ending of a book, which was crazy. Because like it hit me out of nowhere because I'm reading it and I'm like, because it's so much emotion.
And then you
to
hit
it.
you saw a drop fall on the book and you were like, what the
Nah. No, but it was crazy. So not very intricate, very not spoon feeding you and this and that, but also just I don't know, man. It hooks you in immediately.
It does. And like for people to understand the structure of this comic, like it's 8 issues, which is sort of uncommon in comics.
Okay.
Like more often than not, a single arc will either be 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah.
And if not, it'll be around 12 issues.
Yeah.
This being 8 issues threw me off right off the bat. I was like, is it in this?
The fuck?
Yeah, it was like, and this is all one story in
Yeah.
8 issues. Like it just felt like such an arbitrary number.
Mm-hmm.
But like the more you read it, and as you get through each issue, it makes sense.
And it is 8 billion genies.
8 billion genies.
Mhm.
And the reason why it's so clever, as you progress through the comic, each issue goes over the span of a certain number of 8.
Okay.
Where the first issue is the first 8 seconds.
Yeah,
The
8
next
minutes.
issue is 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Then it goes on to hours and days.
And in the back,
weeks.
they talk about that, right? They talk about how like that. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing. I only read the beginning of it because I was getting kind of sleepy. But it's cool how they break down their whole process, even how the genies used to look compared to what they were.
Right.
But again, it was very in depth. It was like, no, we're not going to make just this and this.
Because they started working on this project like 4 years ago or something before they even started putting the pen to the page.
And something like this, I feel would take so much longer. 4 years seems so little, you know?
It's one of those things that you had to consider. It's like people who work in this industry, like even then 4 years, I'm sure they were dying to get this out even sooner.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I did a live stream for Comics Wellspring in Apollo City earlier in the week. And on the live stream, when we were talking, our friend Max Flowers, shout out to you, Max.
Flowers.
They were talking about that comics is almost like a commercial art, where because of the fact that you deal with deadlines all the time in comics, like it's not like fine art gallery type of stuff, because you're producing a product at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so deadlines can be so detrimental to when it comes to the creative process of comics. And it's just, that's why as I make my comics more and more, I fall more into the indie side of stuff, because you just have more creative control, more creative freedom, more like opportunity to take your time with these things.
Yeah.
And 4 years, to fucking do this shit in 4 years is a long ass time.
That's impressive as shit. And deadlines, they have a lot to do with the printing press, no? If I'm not mistaken. If
Like
you're
the publisher and stuff.
Yeah, right? Because that's a huge thing. I heard Tom Segura talking about that because he had written a book or something like that.
Okay.
And he had, just a little in my memory, where he had mentioned like that was the biggest stress, because when he wanted to write the book or something, he was like, yeah, I'll just write it, by this and that. And they were like, nah, like, dog, we need that shit by
Tomorrow.
and they're like, he's like, why? He's like, because once you put this out, like it has to be sent to a printing press, and there's not that many out there right now in general. And then that whole process takes forever, and this and that. You have to get it through the editor, you have to get it through this, and blah 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 blah.
It's a whole assembly line.
Yeah, so it's insane. And so yeah, with the internet, of course, it's amazing because then you can just put it out on a site and blah blah blah. But I think something I've heard recently that I haven't heard a lot, but a lot of people obviously do, is having physical content, and it makes sense with like books. I think so. I think the most it makes sense with comic books from what I've experienced so far.
Okay.
But a lot of people do like physical content in terms of DVDs and Blu-rays. And I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I've never given it thought, because I'm like, you have everything accessible on your TV, But sometimes it's filmed a certain way. Or like even with Full Metal Jacket, how they got rid of the cover and everything. Like you can't get rid of it if you own that exact cover.
Also, recently it was like the 30th anniversary of Friends or some shit, and so they
got rid of what's it called, Chandler.
Jeez, oh man. But what they did is that they remastered all seasons of Friends to 4K, and like if you look at the before and after pictures, it's just not the same.
Yeah,
like even the
it
color
needs that classic look.
Yeah,
right?
like
there's
even
no need to do that.
I mean, and even then, it's like you can do it the right way of up mastering something to 4K, but it's like even the color grading is like a little off. In some of the before and after pictures, like their clothing is different, like in terms of colors, and it's like.
But even then, like, why even do that? Like, for what reason? Because it's not like a show that's like supposed to be visually astounding. Like, it was cable TV. You know?
It was like, oh my god, man, have you seen fucking Friends in 8K? You can fucking see Jennifer Aniston's pores. It's like, no, like I don't need that shit. Like,
no, man.
So when it goes, like, getting back to deadlines, like you've seen me fight deadlines, and so that's
why when I hear this 4 years, I'm like, god damn, that's fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So
and it's just, I think, and even with the story that I'm producing now, I've been producing that since I've was in college. And like sometimes you just need that time to like really produce something that is as intricate as this. Yeah. And like at the end of the day, the rules are pretty simple to follow, and they do these cool little clever like loopholes and tricks sometimes with the rules and stuff. Like it happens in the first issue where the bartender of the bars makes the wish of like that
anything that happens outside this bar. No wishes can affect anything inside this bar.
Yeah, and there's the girl outside the bar who makes her wish for someone inside the bar and comes in and it doesn't work.
She's like, fuck.
Yeah, and it's those little like clever like tricks and loopholes that like it's easy to follow, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's
they don't overwhelm you. And I think to set the premise of if you're curious about reading this book, 8 billion genies, 8 billion people, everybody gets a genie.
Yeah, they call it G-Day. Fucking everyone gets one genie with exactly one wish.
And that story evolves. And I think, we're gonna have to keep referring to how like not intricate it is. Like, but it is. And I think when you think of stories like this, everybody has a way of answering it, right? Like, well, if everybody gets a wish, like how I'm curious to ask people, right? Like what do you think would happen to the world if everybody got one wish? People would be like, oh, it would go crazy, or some people would answer like this, and this, and this, and I don't want to spoil nothing. So what's it called? And I won't worry about that too much because we're talking about it anyway. You know what I mean? But the levels they go to really like pick up on that, because there's so much possibilities, and they kind of get through all that, because a lot of the wishes are ridiculous. Yeah. Because a lot of people are stupid. You know what I mean? Like they don't want, and most people think of themselves. So when you wish, not rarely, of course, in terms of probability, referring to 8 billion people, but I think it makes sense that most of the shit would be dumb, but then also like there are people who want to help. And if I'm not mistaken, there's one guy in the book who wishes for the environment to get better. And and the cool thing is the reaction of the genies that are like, oh wow, like we didn't even think about that, or like that's actually pretty well thought out and even kind.
Even that little like section was interesting, because it's like the guy was so specific in his wish of like, I'm not just gonna eliminate climate change, I'm just gonna roll it back as if it was like whatever, the 60s or 70s or some shit.
And it's a little foreshadowing of the future when we get to the Hollows Point, I think so this was called, where it's like the long-term thinkers and everything, because that came beforehand, like way beforehand. And my favorite little thing, I mean not my favorite, but one of my favorite things is just the cover pages of like, all right, this is how many people are left, how many genies are left, the differences in genies and people, obviously, how many people wish for other people to die, and what's it called? And just the shape of the earth as it continuously, evolves. It's so
the
funny.
Moon being a fucking like monster or whatever. Like,
and the moon gets old and everything. So
that's when it really comes down to massive like kudos to Ryan Browne with his art. Yeah, because like the art has such a good mixture of like the genies being so cute. Yeah, and then it's like there's
a little feisty.
Yeah, and then there's like certain like panels that have like some really intense shit going on, like with a sun man. Yeah. And like when he's like battling people and people
but it still feels calm. It feels like very, I don't want to say kid friendly.
I'm on the same page.
You know what I mean? Like we're watching somebody get fucking annihilated, split in half.
This kid is literally watching people die in front of him.
Yeah, man. And and at first I never had a problem with how the genie looked, but I was like, I felt indifferent when I saw the genie. I was like, oh, I can't really think of what I think a genie would look like aside from like Aladdin, coming out of a lamp. So I didn't expect this to be what the genie is, but they took it so well and they played around it so well, and how it can morph into different things. Of course,
and like each genie looks like they're a person, and like in their own little fashion and stuff.
This is a spoiler, but the one genie that goes like.
Oh yeah. And what's so fun about the genies is how they kind of break like the fourth wall and stuff, how they kind of reach over the panels and like talk to the audience, like to the camera and stuff like that. It's just it makes them feel more otherworhere on top of that, where it's like I think overall with the dialogue and the art, like it was such a good mix of really immersing you in everything, where it's just like I remember just looking at some of the panels and I just felt like a kid, like darting my eyes around, like, yo, and there's that over there, and there's
so much. Like you need to read this twice. It's like watching Deadpool Wolverine. Like you watched it twice and you saw more things, right?
Yeah, man. I was like fucking cross-eyed by the end of this shit. I was like, yo.
Like with this, it's like if you read it once, it's not enough because you definitely miss something. And I wonder. Back to the show thing real quick. Like when they did Invincible to TV, was it exactly the same as the comic?
It's actually very faithful to the comic.
That's what I like, because I know people, I don't know who would complain about that, but people want to bitch about everything. But I would like to see this just perfectly replicated on TV. Like I don't want no changes, no shortcuts, no this and that. Like, it's hard to do.
I will say that talking about Invincible and The Boys, Invincible, while it's very faithful to its comic series, what they also do, I feel like Invincible is one of the rare TV shows that is actually better than the book.
Wow. Okay.
Because it takes everything that's so good about the book in itself and just elevates it a little bit more.
Nice. I do like the style of drawing for Invincible. I like it. I can see it being much more appealing when it's a show. Seeing that
the art
action.
gets so much more better in the later issues, dude.
Okay,
like
cool.
you
Nice.
like the art.
It's not bad. It's just simple.
Yeah,
you know?
no, because the original artist to Invincible was Cory Walker for like the first 12 issues, and then they changed the artist to Ryan Ottley. Cory Walker would still come in and do some issues here and there, but Ryan Ottley was like the main artist moving forward.
Okay.
And that was like his first big comic break.
Nice.
And you see his progression from when he picked
That's
up
so cool.
Invincible to like by the end of Invincible.
Yeah.
And he's gone on to fucking draw for both Marvel and DC, like drawing Spider-Man and shit like that. And he's a huge comic name now, and it all started because he did Invincible.
That's so cool.
And
So cool.
I with The Boys, I know a lot of people like will say that that's also another example of the show being better than the comic, because the comic, which I haven't read, but from what I understand from what people tell me, is a lot of shock value. It's a lot of shock factor in the comic.
For the comic books and everything. But the show is a lot of shock factor.
Well, it's because what I think it's interesting about that is that I have a lighter in my pocket.
Nice.
What's interesting about that is like the shock value in The Boys.
You mean story or like visually? Or like graphic?
That's what I'm gonna get to, because like what I think it is that in the show when these horrific like gory things happen and like really intense crazy shit happens, it aids to the story.
Yeah, because
And,
it adds
like,
on to it. It's not just some bullshit.
Yeah, it's not gory just to
Christian
be
Bale,
gory.
So, not gory, but explosions.
Right.
Everywhere, like
It's not flashy just to be flashy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it has depth to it. And like in the comic, from what I understand, has a lot of shock value.
that's
that,
like Christian
like,
Bale. Is it Christopher Nolan? What am I talking about? Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. There you go, buddy.
Jesus fucking Christ.
You know, I was just rolling with it, but I was like, there are a lot of explosions in The Dark Knight, but
Michael Bay.
like with the comic, from what I understand, from what I've seen online, a lot of people say it's just a lot of shock value, and like the story is kind of weak overall.
Okay.
And they just kind of do crazy shit in the comic to kind of just like make you go like, holy shit.
No way.
Yeah, like, whoa.
But The Boys actually does that shit well with the story. Because I will say my favorite scene from The Boys thus far, because it's so crazy and not really so vital to the story, is when the guy tries to sneak into the house to steal something. He pretends to be an engineer.
I knew you were going to get to this.
The lady fucks him and then sits on his face and squishes his skull. I have not seen something like that happen in a show in forever. And when I saw it, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, bro. I was like, God damn, man. This motherfucker just got his skull crushed. And they showed it. They didn't pussy around on nothing on
that show is very,
can you
very
imagine
explicit.
your kid just watching that shit? You're like, oh, fuck.
This is not for boys.
Nah, not at all, bro. Jesus, man.
That and I've talked to a couple people who say that they wish that the show kind of did the things that the comic did in terms of like being even more extreme and gory and whatever, or graphic about certain things. And I just kind of like I don't really agree with it personally. I'm just kind of like, I think
need it.
Yeah, it's like you don't need those things if it doesn't aid to the story.
100%.
I get it's fun to look at or whatever, but it's like The Boys is so successful for what it is because they know how to hold back, when to hold
They
back.
kept that whole balance between everything that just intertwined so well. And yeah, The Boys is good, man. I remember I just watched it loosely when I was in Philadelphia and they just had it on. But we are at one point, we're just watching. And I was like, God damn, it's just so, and you feel so compelled to watch more and more. I heard the last season wasn't so successful. I don't know how true that is.
No, it was the highest rated season.
Wow. Okay.
Their viewership went up like 20% or something
crazy.
from like the last season to this latest one.
And their poster, their what's it called? Not media. What's it called? Like their advertising, I guess.
Their advertising is phenomenal, dude. Like holy shit.
Wow.
But like that, and that's why I have so much respect for Seth Rogen, and that's why I know he's not gonna fuck this up.
Nice.
Like
when it comes out, Seth Rogen fucks it up.
he fucked it up. But because like Seth Rogen also produced a Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, that was cool as fuck.
So
I didn't watch it, but it's just cool as fuck that he's actually involved with this and he genuinely likes comics.
Yeah,
you know?
he fucking loves comics, dude. And I'm like, yo,
you gotta read his book. Read his book.
I'm gonna read his book, boy.
I'll lend it to you. It's fucking.
Do
it's
it.
the easiest read to get by, and
It's just him laughing.
You really like, that's a good book. No, it's so great, and it's so much good stories, and I'm sure he refers to like comic books and stuff like that.
Mm.
It starts off with him doing comedy. It's the funniest thing ever. He's like 12 years old starting out doing comedy at a club. It's so fucking funny. They thought him and his mom were a couple or some shit.
That's weird.
But he's a great writer for what it is, because it's not too. I mean, it's just him being himself. I think that's the ultimate.
And I
what it
think
is,
like
you know?
what a lot of people don't think about or remember or realize is that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, like they wrote all their own films,
that's
like
awesome.
Superbad, Pineapple Express,
original shit. You know what I mean?
40-Year-Old Virgin,
Original shit and bold shit. You know?
like they wrote all those movies and everything. Like Seth Rogen, I feel like is such a great example for a productive stoner.
Yeah,
it's like
he's like a generational icon that like set things off. Like there are a billion Seth Rogens now. You know what I mean? You know, like it's true, and it's fucking awesome. And man, he's so cool.
He really is, man.
So
He's in my smoke circle for sure. But I just like that's why I know he's not gonna fuck up 8 Billion Genies, because it's like knowing like again, I've met Charles Soule a handful of times now at different signings, at conventions and stuff. And Charles Soule, like he's a very serious guy. I'll say that. So I was surprised, like reading this and like seeing the humor in
fun
it.
it is, right?
Yeah, it's so much fun and so lighthearted. But then crazy shit is still happening at the same time. And I think someone like Seth Rogen can really put that balance on the big screen, or on your home TV. But I just think Seth Rogen is the right person to be handling this project, and because when they're gonna change it to a film, they're gonna have a film, TV show. It's gonna be like a whole universe.
Wow. Okay. Oh man, I hope the film is just this, because I would watch the shit out of that, man, so quickly.
And I'm so curious what the film could be about, because there's so many characters in this book, and like it spans over 8 fucking centuries.
And though that's true, so you could do whatever the fuck you want. I didn't even think about that.
So that's why like the idea of it being a universe is so cool, because it's like we can have it could be like the new Walking Dead almost, but like lighthearted. It's like fucking following people in fucking Eastern Europe with
It's
their
like
genies.
Happy Tree Friends.
Oh my
Remember that?
God, yeah,
that
dude.
shit fucking terrified me when I was
Yeah,
a kid,
man.
bro. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
And if you've never seen Happy Tree Friends, maybe you could show something right
Maybe
here.
don't.
It's fucking wild. But that stuff is wild, man. So yeah, but this is such a good story, bro.
It is, and I mean, I feel like we can probably like spoil like a few things here and there.
I was
like,
gonna say once we get to like maybe the 20-minute mark or something like that, fuck it, we just go off with the spoilers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
We're at 30
we'll
minutes.
leave. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it for like the end of the episode.
Yeah, because I do like. That's one thing you don't want. First of all, I hate fucking people that go on the internet and spoil things just for others. People. Yeah, like what a douchey thing to do. And you know who the fuck you are. Fucking pieces of goddamn shit, bro.
You did this.
I don't know what that is mentally, like that people feel compelled to do that, like just ruin other people. Because my biggest fear, not my biggest fear, but one of my like, I guess like I would just be so mad if you're about to walk into a movie theater and some motherfucker just yells the ending. Like I know that's like a thing people like, you know. But imagine, or even a fake ending, because then you're like, this motherfucker, you know.
That's why I'm always so scared talking about a movie when I get out of the movies, because I'm like, I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Like while I'm getting out,
and I know motherfuckers that will like tell you they're not gonna spoil nothing. They're like, but wait, let me tell you this one part. I'm like, why? Why do you feel like I need to know that if I'm telling you I'm gonna go watch it? Like, you know, why would you tell me that? You know what I mean? Like. I don't know.
That's kind of why I don't really like to watch trailers too much, because I like to go in as blind as possible.
I was gonna watch this one movie it was like a horror movie that came out where it's like neighbors, they go to each other's houses.
Speak No Evil.
I
James
think
McAvoy.
so. I think it was that one or some other shit, because it was families. It was 2 families.
Yeah, I think that was Speak No Evil.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to though.
But I saw the trailer and I was like, I know what everything's about now. And you know, it obviously there's more depth to it, but I don't know, when I go to the movies and I see trailers, like I do feel compelled to watch them, you know, and I watch a lot more because of it. That weird fucking movie about the Bigfoots or the whatever. What's his name was in it? Who played Mark Zuckerberg in Social Network? It was Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg.
I answered my own question.
You got there.
But that movie that came out with the Yetis, it was like a bunch of Yetis. Sunset something.
I don't know.
You didn't hear? It's weird. It's super weird.
But I think there was another Jesse Eisenberg movie that's coming out. I can't remember the name of it right now, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
I think, if anyone, I think Seth Rogen should definitely voice one of the genies in this movie. I think Seth Rogen should play the bartender.
But that'd be cool. But you know what? I think the voices of the genie, I imagine them high pitched.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
do I. But then also, I think each genie should sound different.
Yeah, right. Like with some deep voice motherfucker and some like
Like kind
some
of.
Jewish genie. No, I don't.
That sounds like an
think-
oxymoron. But I think because like what would be cool, since the genies kind of like
Yeah.
mimic their people and stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of their appearance, what if like they kind of mimic their voices too?
That'd be pretty cool. Or maybe it's the same person doing the same voice. And
Yeah,
everything.
like they could just get the actors to just voice act their genie.
It's a lot of people to hire. It's 8 billion people to hire. We need 8 billion fucking.
why it's a universe.
No, but yeah, fuck it. Let's get to spoilers now. All right, so what's it called? Everybody dies.
Everyone fucking dies.
Everybody dies.
And that's not even a joke, guys.
And
That's
not even a
just-
spoiler. It's just that's how life goes
You know,
because it
it's
goes so much time and everything, you know. So
It's like we said, 8 centuries, guys. 8 centuries.
no, but it's pretty cool. So like earlier we were talking about how, and if you read this and you want to hear about it now, so yo, like fuck this shit up again, bro.
Yo, man, this fucking dude, what the fuck is he doing?
The cool thing is that like it follows this group of people that start off in this bar that's now defensible, like it defends itself from everything else, right? All the wishes and shit like that. But the story doesn't revolve around them. It really doesn't revolve around anyone. Like you think it's gonna be about Sunman. What's his real name? Forget.
I forget his real name, but it's like you said, like it's such a big ensemble of a cast
Yeah.
and characters that you would think that there would be a certain main character,
Yeah.
but like everyone's pretty pivotal to the story, and like everyone has their own journey, and even for people who aren't born in the beginning, still have their own story by the end of it.
And they evolve throughout it. It's not like they just have a little snippet of the comic book and everything. And I think that's really dope because that's the first time I've seen something like that in a while. I'm sure there's a lot of things that fall that kind of way, but for what's his name, the genie that granted the last wish, right? For them to come back to life and be a human. That was just an extra layer that wasn't really necessary. I feel like it could have ended right when the perfect wish and him being sent down could have been the ending of the whole story, and
Right.
there could have been some continuation. But they really went through. That was the bartender, right?
Yeah, the bartender
Yeah.
was
His
the
origin
genie,
story
yeah.
was fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
That's what I'm saying. Seth
Yeah.
Rogen would kill it. Like what?
and he was. But so if I'm not mistaken, he was Genghis Khan. He was Shakespeare. He was all these people, right? And the reason he was able to be these people because he's talking about like to get good at something is practice, and
Yeah.
he's like practicing something as like a very slow wish, you know.
It's,
That was fucking awesome, man.
Because his whole thing was that he wanted to learn what it meant to be human.
Yeah. So he
And
went through
so
all those little intervals of everything.
He went through phases.
Yeah, going. Yeah, the famine thing. He was fucking everything, doing drugs, killing people, and just
Like wasn't he
wow.
Jack the Ripper at some
I
point
think
or some
so,
shit?
yeah.
And it's just that specific page that you mentioned that we'll throw up,
Yeah.
where he kind of talks about that. He says something along the lines of like, it makes sense that a lot of people wish to be talented at something
because the process is hard as fuck or something.
yeah,
like
because
that.
it takes a long time
Yeah.
to get good at something.
And then he mentioned the drawing. He's like, and don't even get me started on drawing. And I
Yeah.
didn't say that exactly, but you know.
And like I posted that shit in my story because I was like, I feel seen. And it's like
Yeah, man.
it's those things that like I think the concept of wishes in this story is so clever because
Yeah.
it really, as like you were mentioning, it shows the deep side of everyone.
Yeah.
Like kind of like how they say fame and fortune exaggerates a person's character.
Yeah.
A fucking wish does that even to the extreme.
And it pinpoints ethics, which I think is really crazy because it has such a drastic play into all this. I like how they have the wish lock when, you know, like the forget Li Tang or forget her name, she's about to have the baby.
Yeah.
And the husband's like, you motherfuckers like wish so my wife is fine. And they're like, and it's true because, man, like if we both had one wish, that's a song.
All I need is one mic.
It'd be crazy because, you know, like it's true that I think that logic does apply because I think some people would be like, nah, I would wish this and this and that, but no, like when you start to see shit pop off and like it's really happening, obviously it's not gonna happen, but it'd be crazy, you know what I mean? So
like,
how would you really think and how would the world react? And for the political leaders, for them to go back
All
and
their
forth,
wishes
North
cancel
Korea,
out. Yeah.
it's so crazy, man, because they're all being clever about it. They're like, okay, if this is real, then we have to legally go buy it. The
Right.
lawyers are dickheads.
The lawyers are like
Yeah.
trying to like figure out the best way to
Yeah.
like fucking monkeypox the situation.
I do think this could be me. I do think one of the sloppy story parts of it. What do you think? Is that when what's his name? The one with the glasses.
The dad
No,
specifically, or
he has the 3D glasses and believe in me.
Yeah,
what's his name again?
He called himself the Wish Man,
something like that.
I forget his name exactly, but I know who you're talking about.
Throw him up here.
Yeah.
What's it called? When he was getting attacked by all the lawyers and stuff like that, and then he was like, "I would wish for all the lawyers to be stupid, but only with them knowing that they were smart in the past." Right? It's like, well, I guess he only had one wish left, right?
Yeah.
Because they had wishes to defend themselves with. I'm wrong. Because I was going to say, he could have wished that the whole time, right?
Right.
But they didn't know how many genies each one of them had, and they're both set up for defenses, right? It's crazy how much in depth they went into and how long that must have taken. Because imagine, like, if you fuck up that one little piece of logic, somebody's
motherfuckers like you are gonna be like,
I'm like, motherfucker, yeah. And that's crazy. And it's also pretty selfish of him to like make a wish like that. You know what I mean? Because the lawyers, they no longer have wishes. And of course they probably can access some,
right.
But then you get that like that id in you that wants to just come out and just be like, nah, fuck these motherfuckers.
Some psychology for y'all.
Yeah. Like I was doing so well with being so like perfect at making everything correct, but now I'm just angry, so I'm just gonna bam hit you with that, and then that's how he gets killed, because he gets wish locked by Sunman and he gets thrown to the fucking moon, man.
Yeah,
and it's no fucking big deal too. It's not like that's not even the end of the story, man. Like that's just a small portion of everything. You know?
It is, and like there's so many characters where it's like there's so many branches to go off of, and like the way that the pacing of it goes, I really love how you almost get like little vignettes at some point of like their lives and stuff of like what they're up to. It's like, hey, 8 years later, this is what this character's doing, and they still have their genie and whatever.
And I'm sure in the background there's some like there was one like speech bubble whatever when he was like, oh yeah, like I'm not going out there like to get crushed by a fucking cheese man.
Yeah.
And then like many chapters later it's a cheese man just walking around or some shit.
I love the wish of the Asian dad who says that his wish is to be able to protect his family. So he gets that sweet fucking suit.
So dope. And I thought it was so, and when that was all happening, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a superhero comic book. No, it's just this is what you can do when you have a world full of wishes. Like everything's happening.
And like how they kind of talk about like the bartender says that like how this usually goes down is that there are phases that everyone kind of go through with their wishes, and like when Sunman is out there doing his shit and whatever, if other superheroes and supervillains, the bartender's like, yeah, this is like the superhero era of wishes right now.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting how like they structured all that of like at a certain point in time, everyone in the first 8 seconds, everyone's wishing to like be rich and famous and this and that and whatever.
And all that stuff is pointless.
And then and then it cuts to 8 minutes later, people are making wishes like the Asian dad be like, I want to protect my family.
Yeah.
And it's just it really shows their characters so much, and it makes me so excited to see who they cast for like the live action stuff.
Man, if this shit really goes down, we're gonna be prepared, dog. but I also will say there's a couple things that stood out to me. One I'll say off the rip because I'm gonna forget it if I don't. The one lady who said, "I wish to be one with the sea," and she ended up being like part of the sea, like becoming an octopus and this and that, like a huge squid, a kraken, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, you please just come down here. Like, I just want to show you how beautiful it was, but how it's beautiful down here, but I have no one to share with. And then she's like, why did I wish to be one with the sea? Because the genie was like, you got to be fucking smart about your wish, man, because we're going to do it how you know. And the other one, which I thought was really strong, was when this is called Sunny, right? When he's walking out and he's like a superhero now because he wants to find a good place for his parents to survive. His mom being a remnant, the dad being, his dad. Yeah. And we'll explain what, if you read it, you know what a remnant is. But if you don't, it's like when you wish someone back to life, but they only stay alive as long as you stay alive. Right. Right. But then he's walking out and then he comes across a young person. And the young person is like, hey, man, I need your help, And he's like, oh, but you look like you're fine. Like, you can just, Sonny is telling the young person, like, you look like you can handle your own right now. Right. And the young person is like, no, like, I'm old. Like, I just wish myself to be young. Like, we all just want to be young again.
I don't even think it was that. I think he tells him, like, he's like, buddy, I'm only 11. Yeah. And it's just like,
no. It's not. That's the one where he's talking to the other superhero. Right. But this is the panel where, like, he's just walking and he comes across a younger person, but he. Okay.
I remember.
He's like, and then basically the person who's young says, is really an old person, and he says, I wish myself to be young. That's what all old people want, right? And that should really like you know, because I'll say this: I play in a pool league, right? So I play with a lot of older people, and like there's a lot of times where like, I'll leave and I get a little sad because I'm like these people aren't just older than me; they're like significantly older than me, and like. You know, with the natural life process, like these people aren't gonna be along much longer unless I peace out early. You know what I mean? And it's just how the way it goes. And I went
That's
to
the way the news goes.
and when I went to Alaska, I talked to a lot of older people, you know, and I gained a lot of perspective and a lot of appreciation for like life. Not to be like hippie and dippy about it, but just like hearing people just talk about their lives and everything, and just like it's crazy. So when I read that, like it hit just a little more different, and just like. You know, almost like how everybody is so subjective with their wishes, you know? Like, that's how it really is everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like, you can see a 90-year-old. I saw some lady on the train. She looked like basically dead. She looked like 97,000 years old.
What are they selling?
Yeah, and I'm like, this lady was probably like clapping cheeks OD in the streets from the 80s, you know what I mean? Going crazy, you know, like grabbing dicks and all that stuff like that. And now she's just barely managing to get home.
Barely keeping her tits up.
Yeah, man. And like, if only she had a wish, like, what would think she would for? Would she wish for her youth? Would she wish for her family, which is probably what she would do? Or would she just wish for like $1 billion?
And I think what's so clever about the whole thing when they explain it too is that you only get one wish, just the one
Only
wish.
one. And you can't wish for more wishes, but with loopholes and shit like that, you can obtain, I guess, others and stuff like that.
Right. And I think that was really clever because it's like, it's such a cliche thing in genie storytelling or whatever. It's like three wishes, whatever. Right? And like half the times, like the characters get monkey pod and whatever. But it's like, even though some characters do get monkey pod in this with their wishes, they're still pretty straightforward about it. They're still kind of like, you know, we're telling you need to do this. And some people just don't listen. And I think that speaks even more volumes than like
how blinded you get when you have an opportunity like that.
Yeah.
Because that obviously that won't happen in this reality, but it does when it comes to like people getting opportunities. Like, say you're a musician, right? You get a big break, and the manager's like, "Oh yeah, look, just sign with me, and we're gonna be okay. You're gonna be on Jimmy Fallon.
Sign right here, buddy. Just sign right here."
And then you're like, "Fuck yeah, hell yeah!" And then you're like, "Oh well, yeah, 35% of your cut gets to me, and then 20% to demand. So you're gonna end up with 15%. But don't worry, like in 10 years, like you're gonna be a pop star, baby. So like you know, like don't worry about it. And then you just broke. You know what I mean?
And then you're on Earth, Mind, and Matter.
Please go on the show. Did you hear about the guy from Billy and Mandy? The creator?
I don't think so.
I think the creator or somebody very much closely affiliated with Billy and Mandy, probably the creator. He's not going broke, but he's selling a lot of his old stuff, like original
like animation cells.
Animation, like his like real rare Nickelodeon stuff or all around
Cartoon Network.
Cartoon Network, sorry.
Rip Cartoon Network.
And yeah, he's doing it because from what I heard, it's because he can't pay his bills, or he wants to pay his bills much more. And everybody's talking and saying like, "Oh, well, doesn't he get royalties from Billy and Mandy?" And it's like, yeah, but royalties only work when people are watching TV.
Yeah,
and when you don't get that much from streaming. You know what I mean?
that was a huge thing with like the actors strike and stuff.
Yeah.
Where they
those bozos,
where like they were trying to get more royalties in terms of streaming, because it's like since people aren't watching TV as much nowadays and streaming more, how do you get royalties for that?
But doesn't that speak to signing the contract though? You know, like obviously not, right? Because they had no idea that was going to happen. You know, but it's just insane, right? Like
it was like a time in itself.
Yeah,
like you couldn't do much about it. It's
but that's how the world goes, you know. And
that's
and there must have been some actors who were smart enough to. I'm not saying that these guys are stupid, you know. They're all young, they're all just doing what they do and couldn't have predicted this. Right. But I'm sure there's a couple smart actors out there or whatever, you know, writers who are like, hey, how about we make sure that no matter what channel my stuff goes through, I'm gonna get paid. And it's like this, you know, like it may not seem like it and it seems unethical because, you know, we all love writers and movies and this and that, even though we don't know half of the people there, you know, only the main ones like Kate Spade. You know what I mean? But that's kind of like a good reference to this, you know, because you sign the contract. That's all you gotta do is, you know, you get what you want in the moment. You were happy then. Oh, you're not happy now? You can't afford to pay off your Lamborghini? Oh, you're gonna have to drive a Toyota? Oh no. I mean, of course, that's not just the big famous celebrities. It's a lot of small writers that are barely making it through.
But I think even something like this, something that I appreciate a lot with like as much as I hate on Amazon, I understand like through at least their Amazon Studios, they're very respectable about how they split profits with like their creators and stuff.
Yeah,
like Brian K. Vaughan, who's written like Saga.
Is his name Kevin? He just pronounced it K. Vaughan.
No, it's actually a running joke that no one ever knows how to spell his name.
Is it Kevaugh?
Well, it's like K is his middle name, so it's Brian K. Vaughan is his last name.
What a
but like
douche.
people don't know. People always misspell Vaughn, so it's a running
like
joke.
Vince Vaughn or like King Vaughn?
Like King Vaughn.
Like VON?
No, actually, I'm bullshitting. It's VAUGHN.
That's how you spell Vaughn. Who the fuck is spelling it wrong?
Many people.
Dumbasses, bro.
Yeah,
What the
many
fuck?
people. It's
they
like
don't know about Vince Vaughn, dog.
It's a running joke in the comic space.
Really?
But Brian K. Vaughan is a huge advocate for like adapting media to live action stuff.
Nice.
And because Paper Girls is one of his comics, and he produced that through Amazon. He also did Y the Last Man that he did through FX slash Hulu that got canceled. I forget why it got canceled, but someone can pick it up and like run a second season if they want to.
Let's pick it up.
You know, Link. Like he did. But so from what I've understood, like Amazon is pretty good about like splitting royalties and like giving people creative control and things like that. Like the fact that Seth Rogen can have a show where some girl like busts a guy's head with her fucking pussy, like, like it goes to show that like they put trust in their creators and what they do.
Yeah,
and I remember even when the Fallout show was coming out, people were so skeptical of like, oh, is this shit gonna be ass?
Yeah. Wait, what show?
Fallout.
Oh yeah, people loved it. No,
people loved it, but like before it came out, people were like, "This is gonna be ass."
Yeah, I just wish it was a movie. That's all. But it makes more sense for it to be a show because it's like Fallout is like, there's so much to it.
It's like when Rockstar said if they were ever gonna turn GTA into a movie, and they said that they'll never do that because like when you play GTA, you're putting
your
in
experience,
like,
right?
Yeah, you're putting in like 50 hours worth of content into a journey that you put in yourself. You can never do that in a movie.
You think Grand Theft Auto would be a cool comic book?
I don't see why not.
Right? That'd be kind of fire, right?
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool. But a movie would be like really corny. Unless it was like really
It would be pretty cliche.
Yeah. Unless they make it purposely cliche, almost to like a comedy. You know?
Like a cheek and tongue type of thing.
Yeah. That would be actually kind of cool. But to make it a serious, like, so dumb. It's already dumb. You know what I mean?
No, it's just, let's drop it. Let's just drop it. Fucking.
X gon' give it to ya. He gon' give it to ya. X gon' give it to ya. He gon' give it to ya.
I was going to say, I think that's the longest in an episode with the soundboard that we haven't had a soundboard thing, between the conversation.
This has been a pretty contained episode.
Yeah, man.
Fucking Link's not giving you any space.
Nah, it's all right, bro. It's the king of the house. What's it called? But,
I think overall, like, the one of the reasons why I fell in love with this comic, like, I took maybe a week off, like, after I read issue 7 to finish the last issue.
Yeah.
And I felt like a part of me didn't want to finish it because I was like, I feel like the ending's going to ruin it.
Yeah.
I was so weary about getting to the ending of this because I was like, I'm enjoying this so much. Like, this is so good. How do
you end this?
Yeah.
Right?
How do you end this? Like, what is the end game here? Like, you can't snap your fingers. And so we get to the final issue and fucking, it's kind of like how you were mentioning before. It's a really kumbaya type of thing.
Yeah.
But like, it just executes it so well, I think, where it's like, you really feel that emotion. And like what happens by the end of it is that there's 3 people left on the planet.
2 wishes left.
And those 3 people are at the bar.
Yeah.
Where the story started.
Oh, by the way,
bar.
that was one of my favorite lines in the thing. It was like the bartender, and when he was going through his thing, he was like, you want to really see the world? You open a bar. And then that was like, wow, like what a great piece of writing, because it really, the way it survived. I mean, obviously because he owns it, but like a bar is always there from like the beginning of the beginning. Like I just watched my bad, that's a segue real quick, but the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. You ever seen that?
Sounds really familiar.
It's
actually
always on Netflix, and it's you've seen the cover of it, and it's multiple stories, short stories, but just Red Dead Redemption time, like Western.
Okay.
And they just walk into a bar, and you just see somebody playing the jig on the piano. There's so many people, and there's so much happening in the background. And imagine how that really was back then. It must have smelled like ass.
So what you fucking telling me? I mean, imagine if you were in Europe too.
Yo,
fucking no deodorant.
Hell no,
oh
bro.
My God.
French people. Nah.
I like your fries though.
And what's it called? And just they mimic it so often like that. I wonder, you know, they must have gotten that from literature, pictures, and stuff like that to mimic it as perfectly as close as they can. And but generationally, like, you know, you're just sitting in little lonely places and you have a bottle of alcohol and like men, you know, whatever, and like, you know, but everyone in general, you know, and it's just so cool that line speaks a lot of levels. So
It does, because like, you know, a bar, like just the adventures you have when you go to a certain bar and stuff like that, like when, especially if you go say like bar hopping and things like that, it's like, bro, it's a whole adventure. I was
in some place, I forget what it's called. It's in Astoria. It just says bar on it, but it's called like Victoria or something like that. I don't know. Next to the theater. And I'm sitting there with Anthony just talking and stuff like that, like bullshit, talking about nothing. And then some two girls, one guy and three people, right? They fucking come in. They seem a little like maybe in the 30s, I guess. And then they order a beer and a shot, right? And they're like, oh yeah, like it's like we're back in college and this and that, right? And so they sit behind us. They're just talking. I'm not eavesdropping, but one of the coolest things I heard from a bartender was like, you're not eavesdropping if you're sitting at the bar. And I was like, oh, wow, like that's fucking cool. Like, damn, Cold Master. Fucking and Danny said that. And what's it called? And then they were talking and Anthony was in the bathroom. And then I wish I remembered what comic book he was referring to so I could tell you. But he was saying, he's like, oh, yeah, do you read DC Comics? And the girl was like, oh, yeah, I read them. She's like, oh, I read some of them and this and that. He's like, well, there's this issue with Batman where he fights like this guy. And like, he doesn't really, you know, and then the way he was going on, it was cool, man. Because it's like comics are so prevalent in people's lives and stuff like that, you know? And just hearing that conversation was dope. I don't know, like it was something, but it's like kind of like this, right? Like there's so much different groups of people. Like some guy had like DraftKings had betting and some shit. We were just two Mexicans drinking at a bar. Like everybody's doing something different. And I think that was done very intentionally. Like I thought the whole comic was going to take place in the bar. To be honest, I thought that's where we were going to be the whole time. But the fact that we expand outside the bar and like go to different parts of the world and shit like that. And like, but it's such great storytelling, and I love it when you end in the place that you begin in. Full circle type shit. Full circle. And like we end at the bar with this story. And like it's like how I mentioned before that we meet characters along the way that like we're technically there at the beginning, but literally weren't born yet. Example being the Asian parent's daughter. Li Tang, I think her name was. I don't know. Betty.
Like when the comic starts, she's not even born yet. But by the end of the story, she's one of the last remaining people immortal. On the planet.
She's been alive for 800 years. Like that.
I mean, they're at 8 centuries by the end of the story. So it's like,
oh my God.
And it's her and one of the girls from the very beginning who fucked up a fur wish in that second of having her genie. And they just kind of unite their genies to make that final wish that say, hey, why don't we just spread love?
That was just crazy.
I remember the bartender was kind of like, "Oh, that's a new one. I haven't seen that one before."
What is this shit? She says, "I wish the world to love as they want to be loved." Right?
Because she says like, "I'm gonna make the same wish that I made on day one." And it's just again full circle. It's like it's such a strong character arc for that character in particular, where it shows like, hey, like she learned her lesson at the end of the day. And not only did she learn her lesson, but she applied herself for the betterment of mankind. And it's just it's so impactful. It's so strong, I think, and the art just aids it so well overall. Like that page right there with all that, like
and the genie's true form and everything. And it feels like something's coming, you know. And she says, "I wish that everyone would love the way they want to be loved." And then the genie says, "Perfect." And I don't know. It's fucking beautiful, man. It's like that shit fucking got to me. I was just like, because man, like that makes perfect sense, you know. Like I mean, not to like, you know. But yeah, like that, it would lead to something better, you know. And I'm sure some fucked up shit because humans are so imperfect, you know. Somebody likes a cigarette burn on them. Everybody starts getting a cigarette burn. Bro, I mean, there's so much to it. Even like the people wishing for old, like dead people to come back, like Rockstar, somebody from The Doors,
Edgar Jim Morrison,
all that. God. And it's crazy because the Stephen King book I'm reading now takes place in the 70s or 80s, and they mention The Doors, and then something else I was watching is mentioning The Doors, so I'm gonna listen to more Doors.
They're listening, Frankie.
But
your book is listening to you.
Stephen King's like, what? But that stuff is fucking cool, man, and it's just. Oh my God.
And you know, just I can't stress again how great the art was. Like Ryan Browne killed it. The covers are so much fun. Like the covers are so minimalistic and simple.
Oh my God.
But like they're just so fun to look at.
Always. I feel like that's something that I've always liked to see, but it's always so cool. It's a little reward at the end of a comic, you know, especially like something put together like this.
Yeah.
You get to just see all these little iterations, this and that. I forgot which one it was. Mr. Miracle is still one of my favorite ones, of course, just story wise in general. I mean, there's so many comics we've read that have different iterations, you know?
Yeah. And it's just, again, like this is my first time looking at Ryan Browne's art, and I definitely want to read curse words after reading this, because if this is what they did before, like I would love to see. They're actually doing a sequel to 8 Billion Genies as well.
What's it going to be called? 10 Billion Genies?
Yeah. I don't know what it's going to be called, but yeah, I'm just super excited about the Amazon project. Like I think Seth Rogen's going to kill it with that.
That's so dope. I had no idea that was happening. It deserves it too, man. Something like this deserves it. Like,
yeah.
And it does make sense for it to be branched out into a universe, because it really can, you know?
There's just, it's like I said, it could be like the new Walking Dead, and just like with Daryl out in Europe and shit like that, and Rick and Michonne still in America, you can still do the same shit with 8 Billion Genies. Just go around the world and follow different people's stories.
I hated Walking Dead as soon as I saw Katana. The second I saw Katana, I was like, this is retarded. I was like, come on, bro. Are you kidding me? Fucking 8 billion zombies. You're going to be like, shing, shing. Come on, bro. Get the fuck out of my face, bro.
Boy, don't you talk shit about Michonne. She about to cut you down right now, boy.
Barely, bro. I'd shoot her ass real quick. That's it. Over for her.
It's like an Indiana Jones. Oh, you haven't seen that.
I've never seen that.
Anyways. Good episode. Good talk.
I'm reading this Batman comic book right now. I've started it. I haven't gone too far. I think it's called The White Knight.
Fucking.
Is that with the Joker?
I have the third one of it. I have all of them right now.
Is that the one with the Joker in the beginning?
Where he becomes sane?
Yeah, man.
Dude.
It's so cool. I did a little snippet of, I guess, a future episode or whatever. I've only read the first, chapter, whatever it's called, you know, whatever. Issue, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, because I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Artistically, it's a little off for me. Like, I don't love it. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love Sean Gordon Murphy's art.
I guess I gotta go branch. No, not the art. It was the writing of it. The writing of it, I'm alright with so far, but I've only gotten so far. You know, it's a little difficult for me at first because they go back and forth. And I was reading on a plane, so I was a little tired.
That comic is actually Sean Gordon Murphy's first ever written solo comic. Like he wrote and drew the whole thing.
But the base of the story is crazy. It's almost like yes, Joker's really dark, you know, but that seems to me like it's gonna get real fucking nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they started it yet, but they're up to like the 4th arc of it right now or something.
Wow. Okay.
Like this one, Beyond the White Knight is the 3rd arc of it, where they kind of implement like Batman Beyond lore into like this universe of Batman and stuff, which is really fucking cool. But it's Sean Gordon Murphy just kind of making his own little Batman universe.
That's so dope,
and
man.
It's so fucking cool if they're letting him do that.
Yeah. Shout out to Action City Comics. When there was like Batman Day, Beatrice went to go pick up the comic and everything, the old school one. And then she was like, oh, what do you recommend? You know, and he picked out White Knight and then something else. I think Hush. I think something like that.
Hush is great.
Yeah,
Hush is so good.
I was going to read that one first, but I was like, let me get White Knight first. Read that one. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah.
But shout out to 8 Billion Genies,
Seriously.
bro.
Guys,
Great
check
fucking
out
book.
8 Billion Genies. It's such a good fucking read.
Buy the thing.
Read it before the movie comes out, so that way
man.
you can be that guy. Be like, I think the book is better. Like, don't you want to be that guy, guys?
Damn, I wish I read the book before I watched the movie. you know what I mean. You know.
You know what book is better than the movie though? The Book of Earth, Mind, and Matter.
Hell yeah. Watch that shit, read that shit, drink
The
that shit.
novelization of our story of how we created the best podcast in the universe.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. It hasn't come out yet, obviously.
We're
one of us have to die.
Yeah, we're just sitting on it. Like George R. R. Martin is sitting on the rest of the Game of Thrones books.
Is it really? How
Who
many?
knows? Who knows when those books are ever gonna come out? Fuck that, dude.
I hope they never come out. That'd be fire.
Like, how do you release a whole prequel book before finishing your main fucking series, dude? George R. R. Martin, finish the goddamn books.
Imagine he sees it. He's like, all right. And delete.
Last fun fact I'll leave you with, folks. Here we go. You ready for this fun fact?
I'm ready, bro.
George R. R. Martin, big comic book fan. He actually has a newsletter letter that was printed in a Marvel comic back in the day. Because like if you read Marvel comics specifically, they'll have newsletters at the end where fans can send in messages and shit. And George R. R. Martin had one of his messages printed in an old Marvel comic when he was young. So there you go. There you go.
Maybe he'll see that and be like, oh, I remember that. That was the old me that finished books.
Yeah. So you see, George R. R. Martin, I come from a place of love. I know you, dog. All right. We cool.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, guys. So sorry. No, I'm not.
Nah, fuck that.
I'm glad you listen.
Yeah.
I'm glad you listen to
Listen
goddamn
every
second.
single episode, please. Straight up. Please. Please.
No, seriously, guys, follow us.
But yeah,
Do
on the
that.
socials, Earth Mind Matter Pod on Instagram, Earth Mind Matter Pod on TikTok, right? Earth Mind Matter one word on YouTube. Yeah, reach out to us. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us if you want to be on this podcast. Only if you're interesting. Only interesting people.
Because we can't have 3 interesting people here around the table.
Yeah.
That's an oversaturation.
We're gonna
of
pick
interesting
the
people.
least interesting people to come on.
We
here.
still need to shine. It's our show, guys. Chill out.
If you have triple digit followers, don't even reach out to us. Just get the fuck out.
We want to see that K, baby.
Yeah. All right. Peace.